Should we do the free agency question? Is that a good follow-up?
Yeah.
Quinn from Twitter, which team is the most interesting free agency this summer?
I'll start with Dallas. And we don't know what Kyrie is going to do. We don't know what Dallas is going to offer him. But they're particularly intriguing. And if we're being honest, they have not done a good job of building around Luka. They did not do a good job of building around Dirk post 2011. You think about 2011, they win the championship, and then they let everybody walk.
Yeah.
Just some baffling decision-making over the last 10-plus years from the Dallas Mavericks. And in Luka in particular, I said this the other day in regards to Steph and LeBron. When you have a generational talent, and let's be clear, Luka is that, when you have a generational talent, your obligation is to win now. Your obligation is to build a roster that complements your generational talent. And just two really weird decisions, I think, in the last year. And I'm not going to say the second decision with trading for Kyrie is like a disaster. The reality is they were a playoff team before they made that trade, and they didn't make the playoffs. I'm still willing to give that pairing more time if he does come back. But they're a particularly interesting team. You mentioned one of them. I do think the Pacers, with their young guys, they have up to, I think, $27 million in cap space and the number 7 pick and some guys on some decently tradable, like team-friendly deals. They're an interesting team to watch over the next couple of weeks. And I'll give you the opportunity for the third one.
Well, I have a third one, but I want to follow. There's 2 other questions about the Mavs in particular that I wanted to follow up with. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. H Sports UK said, how should the Mavs build around Luka? And then someone else, A. Benitez, wrote in about the 10th pick. Is the best way to build around Luka just shooting and defense?
Yes. So the thing that I think they've really lacked is that prototypical modern 5. To me, that's the big you pair with Luka. A guy that is a rim protector, a guy that can play and drop coverage, that can be a lob threat offensively. Because if you surround those two with a bunch of shooting, the floor is spread. You're going to have to double Luka at times. That leaves the rim open. That leaves threes open. I want to start there. Let's start there. Like that, to me, they haven't had that.
Yeah.
And I love Dwight Powell. JaVale McGee, I have so much respect for the career he's had. The Porzingis thing I don't think was a great fit, especially once you got to the playoffs when everybody just started switching everything and you pre-switch and you put a wing on Porzingis and you end up with Paul George on Luka or Kawhi on Luka, right? So I don't think that was a good pairing. They do that, and whether it's this summer or in the future, then I think that's the building block for how you build around Luka.
My third team is the Spurs, because I think that as Wemby gets acclimated to the NBA, I think just the pieces, they're a fairly blank slate right now. They don't have a huge amount of cap space, but I think they have the 4th most this offseason. But just who they pick as a point guard, who they decide to sort of build out his first couple of years with, I think is going to be really interesting to see. I could see them going after a couple of vets just to try to help his progress a little bit. But we're in, the hype around him has been crazy, but we also are in a little bit of like uncharted territory, seeing how they're going to deal with sort of the pressure with him. And I feel like that's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
So here's an interesting thing to think about. Let's take James Harden out of going to Houston for a second. And even if James does go there on some sort of max, they'll still have a little bit, I think, left over in cap space. But Houston, San Antonio, Utah, Oklahoma City, Detroit, Indiana, like all these, Orlando, all these teams with young cores and a lot of cap space, none of which are necessarily in win now mode, and nor should they be, given the realistic sort of projections of of their teams and the timeline of everybody else in the league. I would not be surprised if one or several of those teams gave a middling vet a nice 1-year JJ Redick contract.
Like it's true.
A nice 1-year bag.
This is the gold standard. Everyone's like, I want the JJ deal.
Yeah. I'm going to throw that.
It is true, though. I mean, when you went to Philly, that was like, it was I don't know if that was the first time that it's happened, but it definitely was a thing that was, for what they needed at that point. There's a huge amount of added value. We talk every 3 episodes about the value of vets, and it means something.
Yeah.